Okay, I think we can just start with the today inspirational speaker session. We are privileged to have Mr. Jeff with us. Our speaker, Mr. Jeff, let's start with his academic and also career background, yeah? Okay, so Mr. Jeff began his academic journey with a technological degree from the STM College of Engineering, Quindi, one of India's premier engineering institution there. He further honed his technical expertise by earning a Master of Engineering from the University of California, Berkeley, a globally well-known hub for innovation and research. His educational background laid a solid foundation, equipping him with the technical analytical thinking required to excel in diverse fields. Following his impressive academic achievement, Mr. Chief embarked on dynamic career, as you can see on my slide here, accumulating a wealth of experience across various high-impact roles in both technology and financial sectors. Starting as an equity option trader at Osprey Fund, Mr. Chief applied his engineering acumen to the complex world of financial market. His ability to leverage technical skill in analyzing, executing, formulating trading strategies set him apart in the finance industry. His keen interest in data and analytics significantly led him to a data science project internship at IBM. Who doesn't know IBM? Where he delved into transformative power of data and drive business decision, further enhancing his analytical skill. Moving on, Mr. Jif's journey continued with a project delivery internship at Virtusa, where he navigated the intricate challenges of project management and delivery in fast-paced environment. His adaptability and problem-solving skills were key in successful managed project and delivered result. In his pursuit of specialization, Mr. Chief also explored the field of machine learning. He gained valuable experience as machine learning engineer intern at Shelton AI and as a machine learning researcher as well in JP Morgan. In this role, he contributed to cutting-edge projects that intersect technology and finance, showcasing his ability to innovate and apply machine learning technique to real-world solutions. So through all of this diverse experience, Mr. Chief has demonstrated remarkable adaptability skill, relentless pursuit of knowledge, and a passion for applying technical skills to solve complex challenges. His journey is a powerful example for all of us how one can seamlessly integrate technical skill with practical application across various industries. We are now moving to the Q&A session because that's the recap of the background for Mr. Chief. Because this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to ask Mr. Chief about question, further insight from his extensive experience in multiple companies. Okay, let's start from the first question. How do you envision the future of machine learning transforming the financial service industry? Back to Mr. Chief.
The way I'm looking at it right now, I guess the finance industry was probably one of the earliest integrators of machine learning because I feel even if you look at some research papers, finance and machine learning based research has been going on for the last 20 years. But the key difference was that I felt like usually over the last couple of decades at least, it was mostly like you have hedge funds and trading firms would probably invest a lot in machine learning research, but it would probably be like proprietary technology. So they would publish it in a journal, they would never reveal it to the outside world. But most of these hedge funds and prop trade shops, they always had their own algorithms which they developed in-house, which played a vital role in generating profits and stuff. But what we are seeing over the last 5 years, and something I feel will be more dominant over the next 10, 20 years, is that there's a lot of opens happening in the sense that you're actually having these hedge funds come out and reveal the kind of algorithms they're using, and they're publishing a lot. Some of these hedge funds, I think there's World Quant, for example, which is a very famous hedge fund. They have their own universities in the sense that it's not a conventional university where you go get a degree, but it's more like they have research universities where they hire PhDs directly from universities, and these PhDs work on new cutting edge machine learning algorithms specifically tailored for the finance industry, and then they actually publish it. So in a way, the finance industry is going through a transformation where it's becoming less of an industry where things were kept as trade secrets towards more as an industry which is inclining itself towards academia, with a lot of research getting published and a lot of research getting recognition. So if you were a machine learning researcher in a hedge fund 20 years ago, you would have a PhD, but you would never get the opportunity to publish your research because your research is intellectual property of the firm, and it would be kept as a trade secret. But over the last 5-10 years, we've seen this change where the firms are actually happy with the researchers getting their research published. And yeah, they still hold on to a lot of proprietary advantages, especially with the way they tailor the data and the way they build their trading strategies. But the machine learning part of the finance, which is more computer science and less finance, that is actually getting published. So I can see a lot of that happening in New York and Chicago. And I think over the future, you'll see that expanding into Asia, especially in Singapore and Tokyo and Shanghai. And the other major difference is that we've been talking a lot about hedge funds and prop trading shops. They had the money and the resources to invest a lot in research. But I believe over the future, you'll see a phase where machine learning becomes a part of everybody's finance life. So let's say I'm not sure if you have something like Robinhood in Indonesia, but you'll probably have an equivalent where you have a discount broker, where you could invest directly using an app on your mobile phone. So I probably see an integration of machine learning in those specific aspects where you have direct interaction between an ML-based investing system and a normal investor who lives an ordinary life anywhere across the globe. That is something which is not happening right now because it boils down to the fact that people don't trust AI completely or ML completely because, at the end of the day, people still want to invest based on what a human being says over what a computer would say. But I believe over the next 10-15 years, we might see a change in perception. The new generation will probably be a lot more receptive towards adopting ML-based investing advice. So I think those are the two key changes I envision. First will be that it becomes a lot more open. So it's no longer a trade secret-based industry, but it's an industry where people actually recognize research and people are incentivized to research. I don't think researchers can be held on to research positions in hedge funds just by paying them a lot. You need to let them to publish because they seek the recognition for their work. And that'll become a norm in the industry. And the second thing will be that we will actually move to a phase where machine learning becomes a part of everybody's finance life and not something just restricted to high frequency trading firms or hedge funds.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. We appreciate your detailed response. I also love to hear the bright changes that happened in the last 10 years, that we have a new behavior of people publicize the research so that other people can see what's lacking and create a adjustment and modification into it. Thank you for the answer. So now let's move on to the second question then. So in second question, I see that you have transitioned between roles in trading, data science, project delivery, and machine learning researcher. The question would be, how have you managed this transition, and what advice you give to someone looking to navigate a similarly diverse career path, because it seems difficult to me.
Well, it sounds like a lot, but if you look at it broadly, it's actually just two major skill sets. Data science, project delivery, and machine learning. It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, if you have a background in computer science, you're gonna be good at it. You're gonna be comfortable with it. Trading is drastically different. I do admit that. So it wasn't a series of transitions, but you'd say it's more like a sine curve. So it's kind of like a seesaw. I go between up and down between finance and tech over a period of the last 3-4 years. I've been transitioning between roles in finance and computer science, and right now my research is tailored towards the integration of both. So which makes a lot of sense because I progressed through both to actually end up here. But the transition, I would say, as I'm telling you, it's just two broad fields, finance and computer science. So the key, I would say, is to have one solid footing in at least one of the two, because you need to be really comfortable with one. That will give you the freedom to experiment a lot more with the second field you want to, you know, transition into at some point. If you are kind of shaky with your fundamentals in one of the two, and if you want to experiment with the next one, you're going to struggle a lot because you're essentially trying to balance two different skill sets while not being comfortable with the primary skill set. So I'm not sure if that could be considered advice, but that's what I've experienced firsthand. So I was always comfortable with my math and computer science skills. So machine learning or data science, that was quite a natural fit because I was comfortable with it and I had years of experience because I've been doing that since freshman year. Trading and finance was something which intrigued me for a long time. To be honest, I probably had a longer association with trading than with computer science because I've been doing I economics was one of my electives back in high school, so it also had a very strong lit background in that. So if you build a very strong footing in one of the two skill sets, it's very easy to pivot onto the second one. If you're shaky with your first one, it's going to be very difficult with the second one because it's like you're trying to build a tower on top of a weak foundation, which doesn't usually work out well. So that would probably be an advice if you're keen on trying. Personally, I wouldn't even advise doing something like what I was doing, transitioning between roles, unless you're convinced about what you do. I felt the way it worked over the last 3 or 4 years, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I was sure about the skills I had. So I knew my skills were in math and computer science and finance and economics. So I kept jumping between roles which were intriguing at certain points in my life. But that is not an advice I would recommend to somebody who's just entering into a new career first time. But if you really want to experiment with life like that, I would say try to build a primary skill set and then try building satellite skill sets around that. So for me, my primary skill set was computer science and math, and my econ skills or financial modeling skills and all the research skills I built around them as satellites. So have the one core skill set and build satellite skills around them, and then you can experiment a lot more with your satellite skills. But at the same time, you always know you have this core skill set which you can go back to in case you find the satellite skills boring at some point in the future, or if you find it difficult at some point in the future.
I see. Okay. We can see your passion and expertise in your responses. I really like your point when we need to emphasize the solid foundation and fundamental on one skill before we jumping around and doing intersectional project with another sector. That was inspirational for us. Okay. That also related to our final question for you, sir. Let's moving on to the last question then. Okay, on the last question, what were some of the key challenges you face when transitioning from academic project to real world application in this internship? Because I experienced myself that what I did for academic project is far, far different with what happened in the real world application. How did you experience these circumstances?
Mm, if you're particularly working in research, especially in quantitative research or finance-based research, I would say from a research perspective, there's not much difference between academic research versus industrial research. The type
Mm,
of work you have, the goals you have, and the constraints you face are pretty similar. Because if you're a professor, for example, you got to get funding through grants. You got to work a lot for that. If you're working in a hedge fund, for example, again, you got to work through a lot of systems to get that. There's not a much of a difference in the objective for research, but what is different is the way you deal with people. So it really boils down to people skills. So in academia, to a certain extent, you're kind of immune to a lot of pressures in the way that you don't exactly have to deal with a lot of power politics or directly interacting with a lot of people. But once you start doing internships in industry, you're dealing with a lot of human beings on a daily basis. So when in academia, it's more like it's just you and your research, and you start working with your co-authors and your supervisor. It's a very small circle, and you can pretty much be immune to whatever happens outside this circle. But once you enter the real world, especially in industry, it's a lot more complex because you don't have an inner circle. So you don't have people you can trust. That's the first thing. Because when for my most recent master's thesis, I was working with my 5 co-authors and my supervisor at Berkeley. It's a very trustworthy system. And there was a lot of trust because I knew these people for 6 months before I started working on the research with them. And by the end of the project, we had worked together for close to 1 year. And the thing is, we're not competing with each other. We're working cooperatively because the end goal for all of us is to get an A grade. So there's a lot more cooperation in academic research. But once you get into the real world, you're not going to be getting something like that. You're going to have a lot of people who want you to go down so that they can go up. And in research, that's very much applicable. So the thing is, it's very difficult for me to put it into words, but the thing is, you got to learn to manage people and your relationships with them. That'll be the biggest challenge you'll encounter when you transition from academia to industry. And the key point is that you'll meet a lot of professors who've been in academia since their college days, who've never worked in industry. And if you talk to them, you'll feel this difference because they never talk about this aspect because they never experienced it. But then if you go talk to professors who worked in the industry and came back to become professors in their 40s or 50s, they will give you this example straight away. They'll be like, academia is a lot more relaxed. Industry is not like that. So that's the key difference. And if not many people actually transition between the two a lot, especially in the reverse direction, but when you talk to people who've done that, they'll keep highlighting this challenge.
I see. Thank you for the thorough explanation. I absolutely agree that managing people seems like difficult. Maybe we see it as not really difficult, but in reality, it's extremely complicated. It's extremely complex. A lot of things that we cannot control. It's far different with controlling our own project, our own research. Yep, as we have run out of time for question, we need to proceed with the rest of the agenda. So thank you, Mr. Chief, for taking time to share your insight with us today. You are welcome to stay for the remainder of the session, or feel free to leave if you have another commitment during the day. Once again, thank you for your valuable contribution. Thank you very much.
Um, Hello, Krishna.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Jeep.
Yep.
Okay. So basically, Krishna, I think we still we can give the floor to the Q&A directly with Mr. Jeep if they have something to ask directly. That will be fine. One question. Hello, Krishna.
Don't everybody all just ask at once, right? Jeev might be overwhelmed. Let's pick somebody then, yeah? Furqan, let's pick somebody to ask Jeev a question.
Wow. Okay. Mas Bayu, do you have anything that you would like to ask?
Yeah, I guess how do you prioritize between what do you call it? The importance of the research or the methodology of the research with what the industry actually wants you to do? Because definitely, yeah, they will want to gain something from your research, right? But maybe in the middle of the research, you find out that it's not entirely related to what they're doing, or maybe even the opposite. So have you that kind
Great
of
question.
experience, and how you proceed with that, or at least how your team or the management proceed with that?
Okay, so it's a very challenging question, but I'll try to answer that as much as I can. The first thing is that it applies to research everywhere, but especially when it boils down to industry research, is that people don't know what they want. That's the first thing you'll realize soon. So it's the same. You'll see the same parallel with venture capitalists and the kind of startups they invest in.
Yeah.
Nobody has any clue what's going to work, what's not going to work. So people. That simple answer is that people don't know what they want. So as a researcher, you're trying to build something. In a way, actually, research funding is kind of like getting funding for a startup, both in academia and in industry. So when in academia, when you write proposals for grants, you're essentially selling an idea. You're selling a vision. It's very similar to how a startup founder would approach a venture capitalist. So when you're a new assistant professor at a university, you write grant proposals to your senior professors, to the department chair, to the university dean, or to other private individuals who are willing to fund research. It's very similar to how a startup founder approaches a VC. So what you see here is that you see an information asymmetry. So you have the professors or researchers on one side who know what they're doing. They understand what they're doing. And the other side, you have people who are giving funding for that, who in most cases, like 7 out of 10 cases, don't understand what's actually happening. They're just being convinced into funding the whole thing through a play of relationships, legacy, popularity, maybe emotions, most importantly. So this works a lot in academia. So in academia, professor is getting funding from the department chair or college dean who actually has a PhD. And even there's an information asymmetry. In industry, it's completely further worse because you have the research team and then you have the CEO or the board. None of these people have PhD. These people have expertise in computer science research or machine learning research. They know how to manage money. That's it. So the information asymmetry is huge. So, I mean, I don't want to sound unethical or immoral, but the point is when you're a researcher in finance, you have the upper hand in a way because you hold information, and information is power. And if you want to convince people to join you, it boils down to what I was speaking at the end. In industry, it's all about the relationships you have with people. So if you can have the right relationships, you can do some really bad and terrible research, which contributes nothing to the hedge fund, but you'd still get funding and support from the board. But if you don't have that, and if you've burned a lot of bridges, you could come up with the most revolutionary idea, which will influence the hedge fund industry for the next 50 years, but nobody will be there to support you. Because the point is, none of the people on this side of the transaction understand what you're doing. They invest and back you and support you based on emotions. So if you can learn to manage those emotions, you're going to have a good run. But the problem you see, it boils down to the same thing. I remember I had this conversation with a nuclear engineering PhD at Berkeley, and she told me that a lot of PhD students, and the question I asked her was very interesting. I asked her, I am just finishing my master's in engineering. Should I go for a PhD or should I go for an MBA? Because I told her I have ample experience working on leadership stuff. I also have ample experience working in research. Should I go with a research-based degree or should I go with a leadership-based degree? And she was like, you know what? I know a lot of PhDs who are struggling in the industry right now who are going back to do an MBA because they completely lack people skills. And it makes sense because for 5 years of your life, you are locked up in a laboratory working on your research where you're immune from whatever happens across the external world, and you just have direct communication with your supervisor and some of your co-authors. And that is that small cocoon you live in, a small idealistic bubble. Once you go out of that, you're struggling because you don't know how to interact with people. But it boils down to that. So, and this is something nobody talks about because they talk about research. It's always like, oh, I need to do high quality research. I need to do new research. I need to win the Nobel Prize. But you don't realize to actually build onto something like that, you need support from a lot of people. And for that, you need people skills. And no PhD program in the world right now equips you with that. None, not a single one. You can go to the best university in the world. You can go to MIT or Caltech. Even their PhD programs don't equip you with those skills.
Excellent. What an answer.
Okay, I guess that answer. That one answer actually answered two questions that me and Jing actually having between research and also our business expansion question as well. So okay.
It's
excellent
point.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
You know, I love this guy. He's amazing, right? It's like the ball of Ask Jeeve. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Jeeve. Yeah, that's inspiring.
Excellent. Everybody, I'll take it from this point, African, because it's going to transition to my side anyway. So I want to introduce how Jeeve and I met. So I was at Berkeley's Fung Institute end of year presentations, and Jeeve was, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Jeeve gives really high quality answers to almost any question that you could throw at him. And there was not one discussion we had where Jeeve was either not knowledgeable or had a very, very solid opinion. So each moment I spent talking with Jeeve was like, whoa, my mind's blown. For Khan, we had Jeeve over with the roundtable talk with Susan and also, oh God, I forgot the other guy. I feel terrible. Yeah. Jeeve.
Ken, I think it's
Ken Singer and Susan. Yeah.
Ken Singer.
And also Ardan, who was our last inspirational speaker here. And yeah, like Jeeve's got it right. I don't know, Jeeve, you're the name of the previous generation's search engine, right? So there was this search engine called Ask Jeeve back in the 1990s. I was like, I just had to make that connect. But anyhow, it's very inspirational when you get to a point, everybody, when you're in your careers where you want to actually deal with people who actually can tell you hard truths and facts. and not kind of sugarcoat everything. And I think Jeev is a perfect example of that in many ways. He just cuts through all the bullshit and he gets it to the way it is.
That's the so-called New York hostility.
That's right. And so we covered this as well. And I think it's actually really important. So I think Jeev said that people here in California they're nice, but they're not actually kind. They'll be polite, but they won't follow up, and they don't really want to see the best in your interest. And Jeev told me that where he's from, over on the East Coast of the United States, people are kind, but they're not so nice. And I've always appreciated that too, Jeev, as a way of, let's say, developing, because I see that sometimes if we really want to positively transform people, it's probably better to be actually kind and not nice. So thank you for sharing your very transparent advice. And I look forward to having many more engagements with Jeev too as well. Yeah. So thanks for coming in today, Jeev. And hopefully everybody here can appreciate some of the incredible suggestions that you've given. Jeev, I'm going to go on with the rest of the all hands at this point. You're our guest, so I know it's probably like 10 or 11 over there in New Jersey at this point. If you've got to sleep or do anything else, you're free to just, go. But if you want to stay, that's okay too. Okay?
No, I can stay for some time. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
I'm just
Fantastic.
on
All
summer
right.
break now.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right, Jeev, this is where you get to see me do my bit of public speaking then. So let's go ahead and start. All right, everybody. Jeev, I was just looking up your advisor and your research paper. This was generative convolutional neural networks, right? So your advisor was Li Zeng Zheng, yeah? Okay, cool. And your co-authors,
Yes.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay, let's go into this, everyone. So this is the vision and mission statement for this particular week. So let's see how we've been doing, everyone. I got some good news and I got some bad news, but happily this week, it's mostly good news. Okay, good news number one, the hospitality score is finally back up to our minimum level of 80%. So congratulations to all the work that's been going on behind the scenes. I hope everyone feels proud about this. If you feel somewhat unsure, well, just remember it does affect the bonuses at the end of the month. But anyways, this is good news. Yay, all right, fantastic. So we're finally back up to 80%. So this is good. This was a falling statistic that had been kind of haunting us for a while. So here's a few things I'd like to show everybody. The year-on-year growth rate is excellent. The booking pace is down this week, and the daily sales performance is stabilizing and rising. So let's take a look and check out our data on this. So year-on-year growth. So for the past few months, or the last month, we saw a very, very low year-on-year growth of only 4%. And this is very, very not as good as we would like it to be. The previous months of the beginning of the year were 11 and 18%. I'm happy to announce that as of May, we'll probably get closer to 20%. We're currently at 17% with almost 3 or 4 more days left. So we're most likely going to reach our first record on year-on-year growth. So that part is good. Daily sales also, as you can see, is rising. We're getting above the 15,000 mark as well. And a lot of that is going into out-of-month sales, which is also a positive sign. Booking pace has been coming down. It was rising for a few days up to about May 24th. And since that time, it's fallen a bit. This is not necessarily good for long term because ideally we want a larger booking pace, which indicates that we are higher ranked, especially as we're coming into June, July, and August. However, looking at essentially the upcoming month, I have noticed, as well as Bella, that our starting point is not as good as it should be for June. So generally speaking, we should be up to about maybe minus 25, minus 30, but we're down 38% before the beginning of the month. So that indicates that we have a lot more pre-sales to happen before the beginning of June. But I can safely say that at least 2 of the metrics are now actually on track, which is good. They were not on track previously. All right, let's take a look at something else. Last all hands, the revenue goals were on track for the month. They were behind on the semester. The hospitality was recovering slowly, and the strategy awareness was getting better, but appreciation was absent. How are we doing this week? So happily, the revenue goals are progressing. Hospitality is stable. But on strategy, not really there, everyone. We're still struggling. We're still barely appreciating strategy. And for the most part, I think we struggle with it at this point. But I'd like to bring everybody's attention back to this, okay? So this is the Dunning-Kruger map. And every time that the company grows, we go through another period of where we have to go through this curve again. So let me kind of illustrate here why this is important, how it relates to everybody's particulars. So you might remember the leadership planning table. A few, maybe almost a year ago, our problems were mostly in execution. After we fixed our execution problems, our problems were in supervision. After we fixed that, the new challenge was around knowledge management. Since then, with the technologies, the workflows, the AI that we've developed, our knowledge management is strong, supervision is stable and strong, and execution is getting better every day. However, we're up against a new particular challenge, and this is around essentially thinking more strategically. Now, I've come to appreciate that not everybody actually be ready for strategic mastery or strategic understanding, but however, we do need to move away from a problem point, and that's here. The problem point that we're dealing with as a company in whole is when we're at the top over here. Of course, I know everything. I'm functioning strategically, even when I don't really understand how my work is strategically affecting the company's metrics. So this point, as much as I can, I'm trying to push us off this point. So that way we do not go around thinking we know strategy when in fact it's not very widely practiced. The better point is to go down through this point. And I feel like some of you might be struggling with strategy right now. We're making it a real metric. We're making it a real focus. We're making a real part of our priorities to focus on strategy. And I can see the struggle. I can see that some people come in and they feel like, I might never understand this. That is still better than thinking that, oh, of course, I do know strategy. I'm good at strategy. And I think strategically. So at least let's go through this particular competency curve. And finally, out of the emergence, I hope that some of you will get through this and finally start saying, yeah, it makes sense. I do actually see what the work is. I do understand what the limits of automation. I do understand, let's say, the responsibilities of my supervisors. I do understand what good leadership, good strategy, good planning actually looks like. Then we can move up our way through the strategic stack and get to eventually strategic mastery. All right. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying that this is essentially a new growth period. But as you can see, it is actually much, much better, I think, to focus on problems over on this level than on this level of leadership. So please do keep that in mind as we go through the next particular weeks. However, I think Bella's also announced that there's a bonus boost opportunity this month, since it's most likely that we will exceed our monthly revenue target. So that should be good news for some of the people who've been working more strategically on their goals and executing correctly. All right, next, what you shouldn't do. You should not take no action. You should not leave the all hands, go back to doing what you were doing and forget about what we talked about during this all hands. That is probably not going to be very well rewarded. What you should do instead is to take this upon yourself, to really consider what actions you can take to actually improve the output of your work. Quality mistakes are always tolerated, just like always that we've talked about in this company. And the really core values that I think that we need to incite are, I'll get to the core values later, but the insight is this. Now, we have a tendency to create a lot of new strategies and create a lot of new ideas, which is good, but don't forget, there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of knowledge that's already been baked into what we do. So do we really need to create a new program, or do we need to just think about how to control an existing program better? Do we need to think about who's the best delegate, who's the best person to promote, who might need an adjustment in their particular job status or a change in scope? Well, here's a good time to ask that. If you've been working on revenue goals, revenue is getting better, please remember what it is that you've been doing that helps the revenue goals. If you've been working on hospitality goals, then take a moment to reflect what you've been doing this week that actually improved the overall hospitality score. We're at a moment where we're crossing over from failure back to success again, and it is a good moment to then remember why and not be kind of like, okay, that was good, but I don't really understand what I'm doing and I don't see the point of it. Okay, next is personal accountability. If you're not sure, please take some accountability to ask what it is that you have to do in order to get, let's say, the outputs of your work to be fully aligned to the company's mission. And if you're a manager and you're not sure, then, well, it's your job to come and understand that better. For Con I actually started a new practice, this starting from this morning, in fact. So instead of doing the URC, we're getting together all the senior managers together to talk about strategic milestones. I do realize it's going to take some practice before we finally get better, more fluent, and more conversational about how we actually set strategic milestones. But my commitment is that that's what I'll be grading on, and that's what essentially I will be invested in too as well, with giving this particular opportunity to develop and further strategic understanding and mastery. These are the core values that we should rely upon. Fail fast. Be ready to actually fail in this particular month so that we can actually reach our goals in the future months. We still have many more months ahead before the semester ends, and be transparent. Instead of being ashamed or hiding a mistake, just floor it out. You could help a lot of other people understand what it is by showing essentially what it is that we need to fix in order to avoid thinking less strategically and focus more on strategic thought. All right. The 5th semester goal is looking at a total revenue of 3 million with a 4-star overall rating of 4.8, a 5-star percentage of 80%. And 5x individual bonuses go out if the company achieves this 3 million target, and it'll be measured from April 1st to September 30th. It'll be from the span of time from April 1st to September 30th, and the bonuses will be awarded if we cross that mark on October 5th. Now, essentially, the payouts will go accordingly. If we reach the revenue goal and 2 hospitality goals, then we will pay 5x individual bonuses for September. The revenue goal and 1 hospitality goal pays 3x individual bonuses. And if the revenue goal is not achieved, then there will be no bonus for the semester. Okay. All right. Bonuses are calculated on the weighted average of your individual monthly bonuses. So if you want to do well at the end of the semester, then do well every month. That's a good way to enhance that. And caps and boosts will apply to under and overachievement months and carry weight on the semester bonuses. For interns, there's a 5 million appreciation bonus, 3 goals for 5, 2 goals for 2, and 1 goal for 1. And that's it. The idea here is that when we do innovate, and I do appreciate innovation, and it is good, we should consider, does it actually positively transform our employees? Does it positively transform our guests? Does it positively transform our partners? And if we can bring the hospitality metrics up and the revenue up, then it's a pretty good indicator that this is actually working and inspiring the light. Okay, that's it. Let me hand my time back to
Utami.
Utami. You're next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jim, for the presentation. For the next section, we will move to hospitality and revenue target. That will be presented by Kak Kayla. So Kak Kayla, the floor is yours. And Kak Krishna, maybe you can help for share screen.
Okay.
I will share the screen. Wait.
Okay, all good. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to, I think, the last all hands in May. Okay. Krishna, let me know if you have trouble with it, yeah?
All good. I will
Okay.
share my screen.
Okay, thank you, Krishna. All right. Let's begin with this part. This is Villa Lengkungan, also one of the units that we onboarded, I think 3 weeks ago. But anyone would like to guess which unit is this? Come on. Property knowledge management. Okay, Hafiz, unit 4, Wayana, unit 4. Mawayana, you're in Kelengkungan, right? At Lengkungan right now, I think.
Show us the background.
Yeah, would be great. But this is correct. This is unit 4 with 2 bedrooms. So, okay, let's move on this part. Let's see how far we regarding the hospitality target on the semester part. Let's skip next to slide, Krishna. First, let's check on the accuracy. Okay, so for accuracy, last week we have an increase. This week we also had an increase, 1.3%, quite a bump up. At the moment, we are at 83.3%. Let's try to achieve 85% by the end of this month or early next month. Next, we have check-in. On the check-in side, also an increase. This week we have 87.3%, quite satisfying compared to last week. Last week we also had an increase, but not this much. Let's try to maintain it, especially since check-in is quite the controllable factor on our side. Next, on the cleanliness side, also an increase, but not yet on 80% as per our target. So still progress. Also, kudos, we have achieved back to 79. Let's try to get past 80%. Semangat Kak Tendi and the team. Next, on communications. Communications, 0.7%. Regarding this, we are at 84.6%. Let's try to maintain this, and most effectively, let's try to prevent more bad reviews according to correct case management. Next, on the location side, last week we had a decrease, this week back to an increase. At the moment, we are at 74.8%. Let's try to achieve 75% by the end of this week. And last but not least, on the value, last week we had a decrease, this week an increase. Let's try to achieve on 80%. Value is quite correlated with the accuracy as well as how we set the pricing. I think quite increase on this part, also aligned with the achievement on revenue side. So let's try to maintain this increase. And last one, on the overall quality. Last week we were at 80.2%. This week we are at 80.8% and 4.73. So we have quite an increase on this part. Let's try to achieve it. Still a long way, apparently, for the overall rating. Let's try to achieve it by the next semester and goals target. All right, just a reminder, friendly reminder everyone, next one. Again, regarding the Airbnb suspension. So once listing is suspended, it will remain so until Airbnb reactivates it. What is the most important would be preventing suspension at all costs and detecting it early on. So before we get into suspension, getting the appeal, getting the process way longer than necessary, let's try to detect it first. I trust this one to the content team. Also, Mas Hafiz, regarding the supervisions and detecting this part. And regarding the enforcement, I will try to innovate some things to be able to set the partners aligned. This will require some automation later on, discussed this morning with Mr. Ching. So please expect some adjustment early on June. All right, moving on. Just last one. Just remember that we now have two types of suspensions. I did not put it here. Sorry. The first one would be the normal suspension due to bad property quality listing. The second would be the mishandled of launching the listing inaccurately, and it caused like duplication. So make sure that we prevent the second type of suspension because it will cost us as a company and as a team member regarding the compensation we need to pay the partners due to this mishandling. All right, that's all. Let's move on to the revenue target achievements. At the moment, we have been able to achieve 1,313,913 US dollar from the target of 3 million. You can see the tracker. So for May, we have been able to achieving our ideal revenue target set. Now let's try to focus more on getting early on June. We still have 125 days left and about 58%. We still early into the semester. So hopefully this semester we will be able to achieve it compared to last semester. Okay, that's all I think. Thank you, Krishna, and back to you, Tami. Correct.
Oh, okay, thank you, Kyla. Next, we move to weekly mission inspiration. For the first, we go to guest site. Here we have Kak Hafiz. Are you there, Kak Hafiz?
Yeah, Utami, thank you. Probably you can. Oh, why it's not appear on your side? Yeah, but yeah, I will write it from my side. So last week I met two guests, which is Simon Pitcon at Villa Rafa and Kevli Effendi at Villa Tupa, and I welcomed them with the pizza to inspire delight. And also I received positive feedback from the guests. So if I may read the feedback, which is the property is matched with the property with the Airbnb photos and the information we provide, such as the property map, recommendation places, and detailed description, increase the guest confidence in the property. And then at the Villa Tupa, Kevri also suggested to us to adding sign at the several turn leading to the property. So for the future guests, they can find the property more easily because they had a difficulty to find the villa. So I have created the hotspot task and assigned it to property managers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kak Hafiz. I think that's all from the guest side. Next, we move to partner side. Here we have Weda. Back to you, Weda.
Okay, thank you, Utami. So last Friday at Nusa Penida, Mas Hafiz done the photo shoot at Penida Memories, and me and Bang Marcel done offline canvassing and got around 8 to 9 contacts. And on the evening, we went to Skar Penida Cottage to meet Bli Wowo, the owner, and we spontaneously had a bonfire and grill some fishes there. That's all. Back to you, Utami. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Weda, for the report. Next, we have Kak Nadia.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Tami. So this actually from the user feedback that I got. So I've been joining Erica's meeting several times lately, and I got a chance to ask the potential lead directly. So yeah, we got actually notable users here from Pak Emil. So he's actually the head operation of TikTok in Indonesia, and also Pak Dias, the ex-Microsoft, and Mr. Firas. So the insight that I got, these leads are very interested in joining and decide to contact Bukit Vista because of the data or the information that we shown on website. For them, it's very useful and also informative. And also we have our own app. So yeah, the Divigo Pride there. And the next also Beefy is being transparent, also responsive. So yeah, kudos to the business development team.
Okay, thank you, Kak Nadia. Next, we move to employee side. Here we have Kak Furkon. Back to you,
Okay,
Kak.
thank you very much. So the innovation is a guest lecture as the channel promotion for MSCB 7. We have like conducted around dozens of guest lecture and BVE talk seminars in the past semesters, and combined we received around 500 email lists, and we have sent the MSCB email blast promotion to them. From that, we got an additional 35 eligible candidates. Yes, because Kemendikbudristek Dikti is very strict in determining who are eligible to participate in an MSCB. So might not be high in number, but we hopefully it increase the quality of the candidate itself. And that's the story. Back to you, Tami.
Okay, thank you, Kak. I think that's all from reclamation since we have no update in technology. And now let's move to company team target and achievement, also company-wide focus that will be presented by Kak Kayla again. Over to you, Kak.
Sorry, okay. Thank you, Utami. Okay, so this is just a quick announcement regarding the May target. So for revenue target, as announced before, we have been able to achieve the OK target. At the moment, we are at 416,000 US dollar from the OK target of 405. We still have awesome target, guys, if you would like to expand to that, but pretty good because we've been able to achieve this part for the 5-star percentage. Also, slightly bump up into the targets. We are at 80.5% from the OK target of 80%. We've been struggling to achieve this for the last 3 weeks, so let's try to maintain this until the end of this month and upcoming on June. Also for the overrating, finally we have been able to achieve 4.73 from the target of 4.72. Congratulations for the team having made the correct decisions, also doing related to preventing bad reviews. Okay, for the opportunities, until now we have managed to have 66% occupancy. That's all that we have basically to achieve the OK target. We have 16% expired dates, 3% maintenance, and 4% owner usage. To note, the maintenance and the owner usage block is quite low compared to the last 3 months when we have like 5% of them. So let's try to maintain this also with the relationship with partners. We still have 12% nights available if you would like to achieve the awesome target. If you would like to take a closer look, these are the diagram. You can have it on your company dashboard. Also, if you'd like to see the progress your side. All right, Krishna, we can take a look on the company-wide focus on the section after the company theme. Let's dive into it directly. So this is just a quick announcement, quite similar with last week. The note is the same. These are the things that we are focusing this week. The team has decided to focus more on this part. If you find yourself not working to support one of these strategies that we agreed on, please contact your supervisor to ensure that you are working on the right track and working as a company members to achieve the same goals that we have. If you have a comment, if you have any concern related to the strategies that we have put here, also escalate that. We would appreciate a good counterback and a good debate regarding that. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you. Back to you, Utami.
Okay, thank you, Kak Kayla. Since we don't have our permission, let's jump to core value recognition. First, we have the nominator, Kak Furkon. The floor is yours, Kak.
I believe the code on Krishna side has not been updated yet. Yeah. So the first recognition that I would like to give is to our host today, Krishna, because actually today Krishna is taking his day off, but still stepping up and also be the hero to present and also host the all hands. So thank you very much, Krishna. Okay, back to you,
Okay.
Utami.
Okay. Maybe we can move to the second one, Kak. We have Matthew as nominator. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Utami. So I would like to recognize Kak Nat, who yesterday she just helped me with fixing the CTA pop-up to direct user into the FAQ section in the game page. And she even used JavaScript code, but keep the code efficient, so it will not cause a slow loading time for the website.
Okay, thank you. I believe the next section is Matthew again.
Okay, thank you. For the next one, I also want to recognize Konang. Konang being a great help. He helped me a lot in finishing a history list of bigger property classification menu while I'm sick for almost a week. He consistently update the design every day. So big thanks, Konang.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. And next we have Kak Rifki. Hello, Kak Rifki, are you there? Okay, since Kak Rifki not attending, I will read her notes here. He say when things around AI were so unpredictable, they keep striving to improve it in many ways by criticize its weakness, set a discussion for a repetitive issue, and also maintain that the development is on track. And they also manage the issue related to AI very well, so that features and improvement are well defined. And Kak Rifki here recognize Kak Vito and Kak Krishna. Maybe we can move to the next. Here we have Kak Furkon. Back to you, Kak.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I would like to recognize Bella because if you can click on the screen, Chris, click on the picture. Sorry, click on the picture. So yeah, Bella is actually representing Mo Wayana, our co-founder, to the inauguration ceremony for MOU implementation between SBM ITB and Bukit Vista. So yeah, thank you Bella for covering Mo Wayana and also me and to come in person.
Okay, the next is Kak Furkon again.
Yes, also I would like to recognize Kak Shelin because of several things. The first one, Bali team engagement. She has been proactively coordinating the space for Bali-based team to engage together and do fun stuffs. While this might be not invisible to some, please know that this is integral initiative for bonding and also engagement. And the second thing is covering me myself for MSCB team when they visit Bali base, since I could not attend there myself. Kak Shelin agreed to step covering me for MSc BPIC. So thank you very much, Kak Shelin.
Okay, Kak Furqan again.
Oh yes, and this is probably quite last recognition from myself. So I would like to recognize these people, Mas Gani, Kak Fidi, Kak Robin, and also Vidya for sparing your time to give lectures to our fellow students community across universities. Mas Gani went to S1 Pariwisata UGM and talked about the future trends shaping the hospitality industry. And Kak Fidi and Kak Robin taught the UGM, Computer Science UGM, on integrating accounting system with APIs, and as well Kak Fidi and also Vidya sharing the insight our data science to Department of Mathematics UGM. Okay, so you can open the pictures, Krishna, actually. Okay, so these are several pictures. There's Gani lecturing to S1 Pariwisata UGM. Okay, next. There is actually Robin demonstrating the coding function to the computer science UGM student. Next. And there's also me and Pak Azari as well in the class, while Robin joining online and also VD. And yeah, the next one, that's Pak Azari, and this is Kak Vidi joining online. So sorry for Vidya, I still could not find your documentation, but I still appreciate your effort doing the guest lecture to Department of Mathematics UGM. Thank you, Krishna, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Kak Furqan. And the last, we have Kak Krishna as a nominator. Back to you, Kak Krishna.
Okay, I would like to express appreciation for executor in AI developer Rifki, Ali, and Dava with core value never settle to their initiative approach to problem solving. They have initiated a new practice. When we detected repetitive issues, initially always me who try to build forum and discuss, but right now all of them has that habit and that culture so that we can minimize repetitive issues, we can reduce bug, and also efficient in problem solving. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Kak Krishna. And I think that's all from weekly for core value recognition. And since the time is limited, I remind you to fill the personal updates and stay engaged on Kodai. And for the closing section, I will give the floor to Kak Krishna again as our host. Back to you, Kak Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Tami. I think that's the end of our all hands session. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for contributing to this meeting. So yeah, have a nice day, everyone. See you around.
See you, Krishna. See you, Tami. Thank you very much for hosting and moderating. Have a good day off, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Tinggal kita nih. Ya.